Alright, what is up everybody? I'm going to show you guys how to fish a small little, basically, bass pond. I'm in Delaware at this wonderful location. Got geese honking in the background. I'm going to show you guys how I approach a pond. First off, I'm going to show you guys some aerial footage right now. Show you guys some drone footage of the pond from the top view so you guys can see everything, see where the high percentage areas where I'm going to fish first. I don't like pond fishing a bunch or shore fishing a bunch because I tend to lose a lot of lures. You don't have a really of an angle to release the hook from the bottom, so I tend to be in a kayak or canoe more often. So let me show you guys how I approach a pond and what lures I use to do that with. Let me show you guys a couple high percentage areas on this pond. Normally I don't have the drone with me, but I'm just going to show you guys how this works real quick. So anywhere where there's trees or overhang, so that's a good indication right there. Anywhere where there's points, so that point off to the right there that's a little bit different color, those are actually sunfish beds. We have an island and a choke point, basically anywhere that current could go in if there's wind. We have some grass mats in the back here, actually some algae mats. We have two more points, and we have a little culvert that leads out. So those are the points I'm going to fish. I'm probably going to fish the whole pond anyways, but those are where the high percentages are, along with these trees on the left hand side of the screen here. So I'm going to go over the baits that I use for a pond this size real quick. So I'm going to start with the top of the water column and work my way down. One of the reasons I don't like pond fishing that much is I tend to lose tackle because you don't know what's down there. You don't know if it's an old riverbed that's covered in logs or whatever, or old stream bed or whatever. So I like to start from the top, and let me show you those lures right now. So if the water's like glass, I'll start with some frogs, if I find some vegetation, or a popper or a spook. Then I'll switch to some search baits, so a swim bait, chatter bait, and since I know this pond is pretty shallow, I'm not going to go with anything like that has, you know, a bunch of treble hooks under the water, because I'm just going to be fighting the weeds the whole time. Or a spinner bait. This is just a cheap Booyah one. And if that doesn't work, I'll switch to either a Wacky Rig Senko with a 3/0 hook, or a Texas Rig long worm here, 10-inch worm with a bullet weight on it. And I don't normally peg it, and I don't normally use a bead. It just seems to work for me. So there's a couple more baits in between that. I won't show you them all. Those are my go-to baits for the most part. I do have a little bit more frogs, and for bigger ponds I will switch to something that's a little bit bigger. There's been reports of 8-pounders in here. I caught a 3-something yesterday on the stick bait, of course. So let me show you guys how to fish a couple of those. I'm going to start at the top of the water column and see if anything blows up on it. Pop this on the surface. I am using braid, which I don't normally use for poppers, especially not weedless ones. I'm also using a Abu Garcia Villian 2. Heavy fast, and Revo SX with the high speed. That way I can actually do this, or one of these. Basically I can make the lure move without moving my rod. Just kind of saves your wrist at the end of the day, really. But if you like what you're seeing, stop, subscribe, hit the little bell button over here, wherever it is. This is free content to you guys. I love to share, and I want you guys to share this with your friends. So I also don't know how deep this is. I am wearing polarized glasses, of course, so I am casting out, should be casting out along the shore. But I'm in search for something a little bit bigger than yesterday, so I caught a bunch of males yesterday. Copper, my mascot. Copper, leave it. Copper. So there's a little tiny guy. I saw him coming up from the shallow. This is a little male. He's not very happy. He's got about 13 hooks in his mouth. So I'll give each lure a try. I don't always start with top water. It's usually a patience thing for me. So let's try something different on. Let's try a swimming search bait, basically, either spinner bait or a swim bait. And let's try the spinner bait first, since it's a little murky. A little bit of flash will work, hopefully. And this is just a white with it's a Booyah, one of the cheap ones. And the spinner bait might be a little bit more beneficial on that island over there or around those trees over to my right. Alright, that's not working. My go-to bait is the stick bait. This is black with blue flake. And I'm on 8-pound mono because I don't have braid for my spinning gear, but you just kind of like flop it out there, let it sink. And if there's a fish nearby it, he will bite it, pretty much always. And you can Texas rig it, which is kind of like weedless. Caught some fish on this yesterday, that's why I'm switching back to it. And I remember the high percentage area, so these little weed mats, I'm probably too close, I'm probably scaring fish away next to trees and stuff like that. And also be careful when you approach the pond bank. Some of the fish are like right up on shore first thing in the morning. They're scaring little bait fish that are staying warm on the shore and feeding. Just kind of be wary. Not always the case. There's a lot of bait fish right there. They're scared. There's one right there. Stay. The dog gets just as excited as I do about fish. Using Gamakatsu 3/0 hook with the barb actually bent over because I caught so many fish yesterday. So I also noticed yesterday that the wind was blowing in this direction, so all the bait fish are going to get blown up in this way. So most of the larger bass I caught, were in this one little section here. Let's see if whoever it was in there would bite twice. They usually will. Yep. Another little male. Cover now. Dog gets all excited here.